Yo, welcome everybody to Sessions with Serge, new podcast that I'm creating. My name is Serge, of course, the host, and I'll be discussing different topics, different ideas, different concepts from my perspective, my point of view. So I appreciate you all for tuning in and giving an opportunity, to talk about different stuff with you guys. If you have any ideas or concepts that you would like to have discussed, feel free to leave comments. You can also subscribe and follow on all platforms: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all with the same name, Sessions with Serge. And without further ado, let's kick it off. So, first topic of discussion was going to be relationships, just different ideas and different things I've come across and different outlooks on what I deem to be either missing from the relationships or what I see with current relationships or the lack of commitment in relationships, just different things revolving around relationships. So pretty much what I think about relationships in this time is a little different than that of old. Not saying that grandma and granddad or auntie and uncle had it all figured out when they were doing their relationships, because they have flaws just like any relationship has. I just think that nowadays and in today's time, that relationships are a little thrown. Um, Lack of commitment, lack of loyalty, lack of submission, lack thereof, and in all aspects. And so when I look at relationships of today, I don't really feel confident in getting in long term relationships with people because people just play a lot of games nowadays. I'm not gonna say social media ruin relationships, but it definitely is a strong factor of relationships not lasting anymore. People feel like the grass is always green on the other side. When we go to school or when I was coming up and going to school, there was a lot. I mean, not even gonna say there was a lot, but you were more aware of, maybe one or two, maybe even three, four, five people that may find you attractive, may think, you're a person that they could possibly build a relationship with, or may even be finding with the idea of, you being a potential mate, somebody that's worth dating, etc. To now being online and having two, 300, 400, 500, somewhere, some people up in the thousands, depending on, your fame or followers, having an attraction towards you or liking everything you post or posting hard eyes under your comments. And, from now, folks just feel like it's in such abundance that they don't have to stay committed to a relationship because I got 400, 500 other people that's interested in me, that could take your place or replace you. So I don't know. I just don't think there's a strong seriousness in relationships. In my past relationships, not gonna dive deep into what transpired in those relationships, but some of the things I've noticed within the relationship that I've been in is I always felt like I was way more committed or way more locked in than the other person was. And that's no shade or shots at those people, but I just feel like it never matched energy wise. That I've always been the person to be more locked in with that person than the other. So I've speak from a place of knowing and from being around friends or being around people, family members that are in relationships and seeing their relationships and being like, it's clear that he or she likes or loves them more than the other, or it's clear that he loves her, she don't love him, she loves him, he don't love her, or they're not just having the same level of commitment towards the relationship as the other. Like when I'm in a committed relationship, there's a lot of things that I don't do or tolerate. Or I ain't gonna say tolerate, but I don't do. Because if you fall in love with somebody, you're a lot more tolerable than if you're not. If we just dating, it's a lot easier to just snip off than it is once my feelings get involved. So I ain't gonna say that I'm a lot less tolerable because, like I said, those circumstances change based on the severity of the relationship. But When I'm locked in with a person, I'm very attentive. I like to divulge and dive into what that person likes, what their dislikes are, what makes them, angry, what makes them smile. I try to dive into those things when pursuing somebody or with somebody, because I think those things are important. So if I know something ticks you off or gets under your skin or, bothers you to the point to where you're angry, I'm gonna take those things into consideration and try to avoid doing those things because I don't want to see you angry and I don't want to make you upset. And then, consideration. Like there's gotta be a strong desire to consider your partner, consider their feelings. Because how I feel about something may not be what you feel about that thing and vice versa. So if I know that something, like I said, bothers you or gets under your skin or irks you, then I'll be like a lot less likely to do those things, knowing how you feel about those things. And, that should be something that's considered and reciprocated on both ends. It shouldn't just be me caring enough to be like, okay, well, I know she don't like this, so I ain't gonna do that. Or I know she wouldn't like this, so I ain't gonna do that. Like if you're out with people, and not your spouse or not your mate, and you don't have that same consideration for that person, then you most likely should be single. Like consideration shouldn't just be an idea when that person is next to you or around you. Consideration should actually be higher when that person is not around. That's where loyalty, excuse me. But that's where loyalty comes in, and that's where things of that nature comes in and shows what you really feel about a person. Respect shouldn't have to be asked for or begged for when you're in a relationship. It shouldn't. If you really care about this person, if you really love a person, then those things should be automatic. Like it shouldn't have to be something like, well, can you just respect me in those moments? Like that shouldn't have to be asked. If it does have to be asked, then you really need to consider if this person is for you, or if this person even gives a damn about you. And if we're being honest, like certain things, I feel like shouldn't have to be explained or shouldn't have to be broken down because as an adult, those things come with emotional maturity. When you get in a relationship with somebody or agree to be in a relationship with somebody, you're taking into consideration not only your feelings about things, but also their feelings. So even though, I did all this when I was single, well, yeah, that's when you were single, which is allowed when you're single. You ain't dealing with nobody, you ain't rocking with nobody, you ain't locked in with nobody. But when you get in a relationship with somebody, those things change, and I think that's things that shouldn't have to be discussed. But nowadays, it definitely have to be discussed because things are just there's no people toe the line on everything. You know, well he ain't here right now, so it's cool if I get this number. Well, he ain't around right now. It's cool if we exchange information. And he ain't around right now. It's cool if I do this or do that. And I don't know. Those things have never rubbed me the right way. When I'm in a relationship, regardless of you around or not, I'm gonna act the same exact way. I'm not gonna be doing a bunch of foul stuff with you out of sight, just like I ain't gonna do it with you in sight. And if you're comfortable doing it inside and out of sight, then that just goes to show the lack of respect for the person that you have in the first place. You know, I look at some of the relationships that I witnessed growing up, and those relationships weren't perfect. They had flaws and moments of that made the relationship questionable and made the relationship at odds. But I don't know. I just don't feel like people take those things seriously anymore. Like it's just, hey, I'm single, you single, let's kick it. Then kicking it advances and then turns into a relationship. And then I don't know. I just think people need to be more honest about what they truly feel about a person. Because let's just say I approach somebody, we begin conversing, we're talking, we're exchanging messages, we're FaceTiming, we're going out, you know, a level of like rolls into play. Well, clearly there was attraction first, but okay, now I'm starting to like this person. They have a good sense of humor. I like how they think. I like the conversations that we have. You know, everything that's being said is like it lines up with what I'm thinking and what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, I can see myself with this person. But if on the other end that person doesn't feel the same, that should be voiced. Like, don't lead me on or lead the person on knowing that you don't have no good intentions behind what you're doing. Don't just stick around because you like that you like what I do. Don't just stick around because I mean, like people are so fickle now and then weird about certain situations. Like they'll allow a person to come into their lives, make changes in their lives, do all kind of things for them, and not even have the slightest bit of interest. And that's just awkward to me on both ends, whether it be male or female. I don't understand the idea of taking a whole bunch of things from a person or spending a whole bunch of time with the person, getting to know them, getting to know their family, only to be like, oh, well, I ain't never really liked you like that anyway. Like, so why go through all this time wasted? Like, and I think that's the biggest hiccup or biggest thing that bothers me is that time is wasted. Like, you can't get that time back. People are dying left and right. People are, here one day, going the next, and they don't have no age limit on it. I know 6-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds have all passed. People I went to high school with, my age, younger, older. Everybody has an expiration date anyway, but it's not like, oh, well, you got 40 years to make things right, 50 years, you can die tomorrow. And that's just the seriousness of the situation. You could be here one day, going the next. And so I don't know. I just think that those things aren't taken seriously. Like, don't waste my time. You ain't rocking with me. Speak on it. It ain't gonna hurt my feelings. What hurts worse is allowing me to ex, you know expound on what this is, let my feelings grow for you, and then hit me with the, oh well, I never felt that way about you anyway. That cuts worse than some knives. You know what I mean? Like, don't waste my time, and I won't waste yours. Like, I pride myself on being a pretty stand up individual. I have flaws just like anybody else, but I pride myself on, if I'm feeling you, I'll let you know. If I ain't feeling you, I'll let you know as well. Like, I'm not just going to sit there and play pretend for how many months or how many weeks. Or if I see some things I don't like, I address it. If something makes me uncomfortable, I address it. If I don't like where this is going, I address it. Like, and I think that's missing in a lot of people's relationships. But I also think that's missing when you're pursuing somebody. Like, let them things be known. Like, if you don't like me like that and you don't see nothing like with me like that, let me know in the beginning. Don't wait till we 2 years in, 3 years in, and be like, oh well, I never liked that anyway. Or I never wanted to be like this with you anyway. Like, say that in the beginning, so I can make the kind of decision if I want to be foolish enough to pursue it, knowing how you feel, or I can fall back and be like, you know what? I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate you saying that. Let me fall back, find somebody else. I think it's selfish to allow somebody to continue to do things for you, continue to show interest in you, knowing that you don't feel the same way. Like, and I think that's figured out fairly early. So to drag it on and put a year on it, 2 years on it, knowing that you're never gonna feel that way about this person, let that person know. I think that's selfish to lead somebody on in that manner. And like I said, I think that's the awkward space of time, awkward space of time that we're in now, where people will just allow a bunch of BS to transpire just because they like certain things, like the way a person treats you, or like the money a person spends on you, or like the places the person takes you. Like, I'm just not with all that. Like, you ain't got to do all that to get those things. And if you find a person foolish enough to do those things, knowing that you don't like them like that, then I guess it is what it is. But I don't have that kind of heart to lead somebody on for months or weeks or years, and just pop up and be like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, but nah, it was never gonna be that." And it was, I mean, I appreciate everything you did, but it was never gonna be that. Like, that's just a very selfish mindset to me, and I'm not a fan of that type of thing. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not gonna say that grandma and grandpa had it figured out, because a lot of times there was a whole bunch of foul mess going on and with them, and they just stayed together because they had a bunch of kids together, or it was frowned upon for divorce. Divorce is at an all-time high nowadays. Person could be married today and in 6 months be divorced. Like, it's not even nothing people wink at or shrug at. They just be like, oh, well, they ain't together no more. Like, and it's just on to the next. Like, I never really been one of those people who got out of a relationship, hopped in another one, got out of a relationship, hopped in another one. Because I feel like there needs to be some time in between to get yourself together. And I think that's a large part of why relationships aren't lasting anymore either, because you're just dragging all that toxicity that you didn't let go from that previous relationship into the next relationship, and allowing, now you done screwed two, three, four, five people lives up, where it could have just been that one person. Okay, y'all didn't make it. Take some time, get over whatever transpired in that relationship, because it does take time. It does. I mean, they say time heals all wounds, and it's a very true statement. You may never get over some things, and certain things may bother you for the rest of your life. But I do feel like if you allow an allotted amount of time to deal with whatever issues you had from a previous relationship before going into your next, that it can be beneficial for the next person, because you learn a lot about yourself when you're dealing with somebody else. You learn a lot about the things you do and don't like while dealing with someone else. You learn a lot about what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept while dealing with somebody else. Some of those things are hard to figure out when you're just alone. But when you start to engaging with someone else, you start to figure out like, hey, I don't like that. Okay, next relationship, I ain't allowing that. Next relationship, I ain't tolerating this. Next person I'm with, they got to do this. Like, you start to figure it out what it is you're willing to accept when you get to a certain place, in your life and in relationship. And I think that's what gives emotional maturity, allowing folks to know, like, okay, this is our first date, second date, third date. And by date number three, I'm like, hey, you know, do this? Do you want this? Can you see this? What's this? Like, what do you like about this? Are you willing to do this? Do you believe in God? How do you feel about religion? How do you feel about kids? How do you feel about family? Like, these things are all important questions to ask in the earlier stages, because you don't want to get with nobody and then y'all locked in and then you finding out all this new information like, this is not the person I thought I was dating. And I think that's another thing. Like, people lie so much now, you can't really take anything, take anything serious no more. Like, everything is at face value. Like, okay, I believe it when I see it. Because like I said, people will literally look you in your eyes and cry and do all kind of extra stuff and be lying their ass off. And that's just the God's honest truth. And I don't understand it, because to me, telling the truth ain't that difficult. I'd rather you be upset with me and feel a way about what I'm saying and knowing it's the truth than you find out like, damn, they really lied about that. Like, that was something stupid to lie about. That wasn't necessary to withhold. Like, I just be straight with me. I'd rather you be straight with me. It may hurt or sting for the moment, but I can appreciate that down the line. Like, you know what? At least they told the truth. I can't say nothing because it was the truth, whether it made me feel away or not. And I think nowadays people just find it way easier to lie, to fabricate a whole bunch of stuff that really doesn't even matter. Like, some stuff just isn't worth being dishonest about. And so I don't know. I question myself about what the status and what it looks like to be in a relationship in this day and age. And I just am fearful for what that looks like, because I just don't know if people can really be who they say they are, number one. But if people even align morally anymore, or if people even have morals anymore, like, it's very difficult to find somebody who's grounded in certain beliefs, number one, but also who want who get in relationships and see where it could go, see the potential of what it could be. Get in there and recognize that we're in this for the betterment of each other. Like, I'm doing whatever I can to build you up. You're doing whatever you can to build me up. And it's a collective agreement that, hey, we doing this for each other. We're looking out for each other. If you in a relationship and the person is like, oh yeah, well, when I get this or when I do this, when I buy this, or that they're already letting you know that it's about to be all about them anyway. That's a selfish mindset. If we in this together, let's lock in. Let's see what we can accomplish together. Let's see what we can not what goals we can knock out together. What barriers and what walls we can knock down together. And I know I see a lot of posts online and different things about, you know, relationship goals, and that's never really been a, a thing of mine. I don't know many guys that be like, yeah, that's relationship goals right there. But yeah, you can't base what you deem important and what you think a successful relationship looks like for you off of the backs of somebody else, especially not these celebrities who portray one image online, be totally different behind the cameras or behind closed doors. So I just don't want you to attach. I don't think you should attach your idea and concept for what a successful relationship looks like on the backs of somebody else. I just don't. But yeah, y'all tell me what y'all think. Y'all think relationships look successful in today's time? Would you want to be in a relationship in today's time? If you're in a successful relationship, what did you do and what have you done to maintain that successful relationship? Let me get some of y'all ideas and what y'all think. If I'm if y'all think what I'm saying is nonsense, feel free to tell me. If you think I said some things that's true, feel free to tell me as well. I'm here to listen as well in response to whatever y'all feel and what y'all saying. If you, like I said, difference of opinion, difference of views is normal. So yeah, I'd like to get you guys' concepts and ideas on what you think a successful relationship looks like. Can you have a successful relationship in today's time? And if you're already in a successful relationship, what did you do to get to that, to get and maintain that successful relationship? I mean, like I said, I already know that every relationship starts off rocky or could start off rocky, or that every relationship has ups and downs throughout the duration of the relationship. So yeah, let me get you guys' minds. Pick you guys' minds and see what you have to say in reference to what was said. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Before I get out of here, I just want to thank all the people who helped get this up and running. My boy KC, who's doing the editing and different things for the podcast. Clark, who's also doing some things for the podcast and the editing, and is also running some of the social media pages. My boy Herm, who's also running some of the social media pages and coming up with some of the creative ideas that came up with the logo. So I'm appreciative of you fellas for assisting in making this a success. And, hopefully we off to the moon with this one. So I appreciate everybody. Again, feel free to subscribe, comment, share, the whole nine. Like I'm trying to take this as far as it can because this is truly a passion of mine. So I'm appreciative of all the feedback that I may receive, of the shares I may receive, of the subscriptions I may receive. So I'm grateful for it all. I'm no therapist, just a guy that keeps a buck. So until next time, peace.